Welcome back to another episode of Tokyo Recruiters. I'm Levi. I created this podcast to shed a little bit of light on the recruitment industry in Tokyo. We all know that it exists and it has different kinds of reputations. And this is about showing you who are the people behind the scenes and what are they doing inside of recruitment and outside of recruitment. So this is for you if you are looking to get into the industry and wondering what type of firm that you want to join or what kind of manager you want to work with. It's also for people who are in the industry and maybe not satisfied at their company, or maybe just wondering if there's someone out there that they can emulate, some inspiration that they can get of someone to strive to be like. So a role model of sorts, or it could be someone outside of the industry who just wants to check what are the professionals working in Tokyo, what are these people at these companies like. So I hope that it's informative to you. Today's guest is definitely a special one to me. Damon Mackey is a friend, someone who kept in touch with me over the years since I joined recruitment in 2018. We bonded immediately over surfing and kind of having a similar West Coast background. He's from California. I'm from Hawaii. And yeah, due to this, we kept in touch. Having him on the podcast was a great opportunity because he got to share really in depth about what makes Catalyst4MBAs, his company, special and making it into a recruiter's dream company. So it's pretty interesting to see his insights, especially about integrity and about the processes that he has kind of outsourced, as well as the meritocracy that he's built. So I hope that it is an interesting conversation for you. There are some surfing references that to me were quite fun to play around with and how they relate to recruitment. I hope that you enjoy the episode as well. And if you do, let me know. I love to get your feedback. If there's something you want me to improve or someone else that you want me to interview, then that's also something that's great to know. So with that, please enjoy. You're someone who, we've had contact for quite a while. And I always appreciated you keeping in touch. And I think we were bonding over surfing originally. So I would love to get into a little bit about yourself and just the interesting things you're doing outside of recruitment and also any challenges that you've had within recruitment and how you've overcome them. So maybe first we can start with the challenges and like what brought you into the recruitment world in the first place.
Um, let's see. I started quite accidentally. So I did my MBA here at Tsukuba University, and then I saw a lot of value in the work groups because you get to do a work group um, with people of all different levels from different departments in different types of companies. So I thought that networking was really good. People say that a lot about the MBA, that it's good for networking. I wanted to create a network event when I was an MBA with like 3 different schools. I never did that because I was busy doing the MBA. And then I did, when we started this company, we held the executives networking event, MBAs and executives networking event. So we held that first, and then we also had the MBA Career Forum, like a job fair. I started that, and then Nissan came to me first, and they said, we always recruit really well from your event. Why can't you recruit from us directly? And then so then they got us to sign an MSA. I started doing recruitment and then making placements, and then there's a lot more. I think it's a lot easier to create revenue from recruiting than it would be from events.
So the events themselves, you were bringing in MBAs from around Japan and hosting them and then connecting them with companies, or?
Yeah, I did all the main schools in Japan, so Meiji and Waseda and Keio, all of these big schools. And then I did the overseas schools where Japanese people are attending overseas. So that was just organizing them. There's a couple years of just calling out and gaining the trust of those universities, um, and then getting speakers that want to speak to the MBAs.
Wow. And is that still a core part of what your business is getting those candidates that have just graduated from the schools through events.
Yeah, that it's part of it anyway, Um, we are not, so we are very much exclusively just doing MBAs and masters and not anymore because I started doing work with the big four consulting companies. Those are my main clients. And they want people with a specific background. Of course, big four experience, or for their automotive team, maybe somebody from an automotive company, industry side, they call it. So then we're looking specifically for those people. And of course, those people aren't just MBAs. So it's grown. Like we definitely still work with MBAs. There's a lot of talented MBAs out there. Um, and I think it's a good group of people to pull from. Obviously, people are going to be more driven if they went back to school voluntarily, taking time from their working life to do the MBA or doing it in addition to working life. So it's a good group of people to try to help connect. So I still do that with the events. We pretty much put a hold on them. We did a couple online events during COVID, but um, nothing compared to what we were doing before that. And then we're getting back to the live events now. I think it's a good part of the branding of the company where people see um, some differentiation there, and they see like a high, because a lot of recruiting companies have events, but they see really high caliber events, and we're pretty picky about who we invite. And then we have really, we started with the CEO of General Electric, and I've kept the bar really high for our speakers. So I think people have a lot of value from attending those events, and then they feel a little bit differently about the company after that.
It's a very interesting style that you have. I think it's quite different than the normal recruitment companies that are out there, and I guess that the way that you started as well with the events. But was it ever challenging, or I mean, even now, can you remember a time when you really felt like it was a challenge and you had to overcome it?
Yeah, that the whole events thing, it's really hard to make money with events. It's a great addition. I don't think if I have my recruiting company today, I don't think I would do events. It takes a lot of time and energy to do the events properly. But now that we have that already set up and we know what we're doing in that area, it's beneficial to do. But I wouldn't start that now if we weren't doing it. If you're going to go for really high quality events, um, it just takes too much time away from the recruitment. Um, so anyway, the challenge, the maybe most challenging, of course, was the first 2 years of the business, especially that was all events back then. So it was difficult to create enough revenue. So that was a lot, ridiculous amount of overtime worked and low pay. Um,
That's a common theme I'm hearing for
yeah,
entrepreneurs and recruiters alike.
yeah, I think it's almost a definite part of your business, unless you go into some niche area that no other company does. Then you wouldn't solve that problem. But if not, you're going to have to outwork the competition. Um,
Mm.
so I
Do you?
think with those, and then the way to get through that, I mean, in the sense of delivering for clients, that was pretty huge. Because when we started, I started with um, I was telling our keynote speakers to come speak at our event, including the MBA Career Forum. And in exchange, there would be all these MBAs from these schools. But when we started, we don't have either one. So then we get the speaker to say they want to speak because of the MBAs. And you have to have a certain level of integrity and drive to make that happen. Because when people promise that and they don't make it happen, that's not okay. When they promise it
Mm.
and they make it happen, then of course it's okay. But yeah, that took a lot. It took a lot of work. I was literally working all the time. I carried a laptop, a big heavy laptop back then, 15 years ago, on the
That's
train with some little pod to connect, and I was just typing on the train all day, all night, 7 days a week for the first couple of
wow.
years. But
Wow.
so overcoming that challenge was different with integrity. I'd say the other one for recruitment is um, when we had when there's anything like Lehman shock, or there's a lot of things that can affect the economy, or your market. Yours could be your specific market. So when that happened, the way we overcame it was just to pivot as fast as possible, And it's always a good learning experience because all we're doing is the things we should always be doing. So let's say that the market is drying up or economy is down, then sticking to your hiring managers or partners in our case, talking to them and say, what do you have that's absolutely critical? I will make it the top priority of this company, and I will personally work on only that. And then you're going to get, roles that you can place, and then you're going to really prioritize those. Um, that's more difficult to do in a good when the economy is good. You have many roles to work on, so it's harder to prioritize. But doing that, focusing on partners or hiring managers and getting them to introduce the most critical roles, getting them to introduce other hiring managers, and then just really pivot for whatever roles are open. It might be a little bit outside of your specialty. It's better to stay in your specialty, but if it's outside, then just work on it and get those placed can make a big difference.
I'm hearing I'm hearing something here, not just from recruitment, but even from the past. You were kind of bridging this gap. It was like making this deal happen between the MBA, the speaker, and the MBA students, and making sure that you have to promise but at the same time set expectations to both of them, right?
Right.
But you have to make sure that it happens, or else the deal will fall through and everyone will be upset with you. And it's kind of similar to recruitment, is what I'm hearing. But how did you start in recruitment specifically, when just getting your foot into the door before the clients do trust you to give you the jobs? And do you have any insight with how to just get your foot in the door and have the integrity to not be disappointing anyone?
So I guess anybody can overpromise, right? And that would work to get a deal, can work to get a deal signed. Just be like, I can do this, I can get better candidates than anybody in the world. And they're like, okay, we'll sign with you. And then you might find out that it's an impossible search. So for us, we already had a small database of people that had attended our events, and I could at least tell clients that I'm working with these candidates, with these graduates. I want to be able, I could at least say I can connect you to all these MBA schools, and I want to bring these candidates to you. And then if they get us signed, then delivering on that can be quite difficult. Of course, like with a lot of the companies breaking to the big four, it's saturated. They're working with like 200 recruiting companies on these roles. So just doing whatever it takes to deliver. And then, it's always going to be the same. You want to follow all of HR's processes so they're not upset with you, but you have to be close to the hiring manager because they're going to find out about something today that's not in the JD today. They'll just be like, yep, I just interviewed this one guy and I'm giving up on allowing people to interview us that have only this skill. Now I want this skill. Now you know that, and those other 200 recruiting companies do not. And then if you speak to that person, you can say, I'm only going to introduce you those people, but I might be introducing a lot less. But everybody I introduce to you from now on will have whatever that skill is. And then you're the only, especially if it's new, you're probably the only one getting the person with that skill. And then, but anyway, just relationship with the hiring manager is always going to.
And we hear a lot about the power of that relationship. I'm curious, do you have a process for, I keep in touch with the hiring manager every week, I give them a call, or is it more ad hoc and you go and take them out to dinners and you build a relationship that way? Or do you have a strategy behind building that and then maintaining that relationship?
Don't know. I know a lot of people say you should go out, if you're a recruiter, you should be going out to lunch every single day with a candidate or a client. I don't really believe that, but I don't think it's bad. The face-to-face is super important because you're going to be closer than somebody else who they've only read emails from or somebody they've only done phone calls with. I think that emails, phone calls, face-to-face, it just kind of works like that, especially in Japan to build rapport. But I do a lot of work with partners. So one of the first things is just to treat them like real human beings. They get a lot of people treating them very formally, maybe even kissing up to them, but at the very least treating them super formally. So just to speak to them like a regular person, to keep a kind of a level playing field for yourself, but also so they feel like they're talking to another person and not somebody just being very much overly formal with them or kissing up to them. I think that makes a huge difference. And then understanding if you can understand their business before you speak with them to the first time, and understand their needs, and then they're looking for a certain type of candidates. If you know those and you can show that, that's huge, because that's way more than that. At least 80% of other recruiters that talk to them are just going to say, and they know when the person's, oh, yeah, we definitely have those guys. What'd you say it was? What's the skill you're looking for? Oh, yeah, definitely. And they're just trying to fake it to win the guy's business. But if you know the area, it's huge, because, for them, they're dealing with lots of people, and people that are introducing non-useful profiles are a huge time suck for them. And then if somebody understands, there's a very good chance that that person will be able to introduce the right people. If they don't understand, then they get that. That's the way I had that a lot I worked directly with a partner very successfully, and we held seminars for them every 6 months, got multiple placements out of each one. And working with that was for digital transformation, which is a big, wide-reaching term. But he said other recruitment companies send him like IT guys or a cyber guy or somebody that's like an engineer, and that's not what he's looking for. He needs consulting. So just to understand his business consulting and then understand the actual requirements was super helpful for us to be more successful with him. And then also, if you have something unique or some differentiation you can offer, like we had the seminars, then that's useful for him.
To kind of stand out from the rest of the 200 people that are out there, I guess. Yeah. So I'm curious, you said the quality and the focus on that seems to be important to the business, but in terms of KPIs or tracking, obviously you probably have KPIs, but do they reflect this somehow, like that the quality matters more than the quantity, or how do you approach this in terms of the systems in the business?
I try to keep our KPIs very reasonable. So, like, for example, I think the standard CV send out, ours is less than that. And that's very purposefully done, because I want people to send out quality CVs. And if you can focus on that, that's good. But you definitely should have a certain amount of consistent work going out. Otherwise, you're going to have big dips in results. Mm-hmm. So I think getting to a reasonable number is really important. We've tried to do that with our KPIs. I think all of our KPIs are very doable on a monthly basis. People can hit them all the time. But, you have to that consistency is a big part of the business.
Yeah. And I want to understand a bit about the culture as well of the company. I know it maybe is a vague term, but what is it like? What kind of people do you hire? What kind of people work at Catalyst?
So I can this is an easy one to say the general areas. We're not going to be hiring the type of person that wants to manager or be a director and not do recruiting. Those people are super useful, but they don't have any place here. So you would be managing a group and you could teach them and really add value to them, and then you can help people recruit better. We're not doing that here. This is a place for individual contributors, and I mean people who love recruiting and want to recruit, want to help people get good jobs and do it in a high integrity way. And that's what everything is set up for. We have what I've tried to do from the very beginning is, when I had the idea for the business to streamline it into recruitment instead of having like the large MBA Career Forum, is to make it a recruiter's dream come true. But I mean an individual contributor's dream come true. Not manager, director is not going to. We have the title, but you're not just going to sit around managing or directing people. So you're going to be making placements. And then I tried to make everything go along with that. So like, for example, we have 1-to-1 associate consultant ratio, and that's purposely so you can make more placements. So as a consultant, you have one associate, and they're going out and meeting people, they're writing up a summary, they're formatting the resume, they'll recommend some vacancies, but that's really your job as a consultant. Then they give them to you, and they could do the whole call with them and then introduce you for 5 minutes. You can tell the person what the roles are that are best, start to build rapport, and then they can send them out. And then your job is really the latter part, so prepping for second, third interview, negotiating the offer letter, and working with clients and doing biz dev. So
you're taking
I
a lot
tried
of
to make that. Yeah, so those
grunt
people
work,
will,
I guess, out
yeah,
of the beginning
yeah,
sourcing and the formatting, and you've
yeah,
automated this in a sense with having an associate for each consultant,
right.
so they
And
can
then,
focus on advising.
yeah, right. And then just do that. I don't know. For me, a lot of recruiters I know have said that that's what the part that they enjoy. So I tried to build it all for that part. And then also, associates and consultants can each be making more placements because they have each other. Um,
Mm,
and then, so for the type of people, so person needs to be driven. I pay a higher than standard commission, so you can make more money here. Of course, there's no cap, but I think most recruitment companies don't have a cap on bonus. If yours does, you should quit and work somewhere else because there's way too many that don't have one.
yeah.
So no cap on the bonus. Um, and then the reason I said coachable is because we have really not all companies invest in this. It does take time um, to create this up, but we have really strong best practices we've got from other um, really good organizations. I had an investor before, and he had a very successful recruiting company, and we got some from him, and then we just reworked those to make it match for what we're doing. Um, and then, so people that are driven, they're going to have that. It's a good commission. They have that 1-to-1 associate consultant ratio. Um, they have really strong best practices to learn. Even if you're experienced, you can learn stuff here or do some of the best practices that are going to make you more efficient. And this one's interesting. I think you will agree with this from your previous experience, but we're really big on linear recruitment. So I mean in a line. So for example, maybe here your area would be finance, and that means that those linear areas would be, for example, accounting. You'd have all the accounting guys, all the tax, all the audit, and then Big Four has an area called financial services. So that's your area, and it's totally protected. Other people can't work those areas, which means you can build expertise. Over the years, you're going to build expertise in those areas, and hopefully clients are coming to you when they want an accountant or a tax or an audit person
Mm,
because they know that you deliver on those, and they know that when they talk to you, that you know what they're talking about instead of just writing down and searching for those terms.
hmm.
Um,
Yeah, the riches are
yeah,
in the niches, as they
yeah,
say.
yeah, that's right. The
Beautiful.
riches are in the niches. Yeah, and I just
Nice.
think it's important that people have that because I've heard of a lot of people that had failed before, and it was because they got moved. So I was
Mm,
finance, I got moved to marketing, and then I got moved, and that stinks because you just lost all your, maybe not all your clients, but some of your clients and all of your candidates. So
mm.
having that protected space and having good tools to use or best practices, um, I think that's super useful, and people don't really understand how much those random roles can hurt you. So you work on one, you send people out. Now, maybe you made a placement and maybe you didn't, but all those people you contacted, you can't use again if you don't work a role like
Mm.
that. Whereas when you're working them constantly, you built rapport with people. Another accounting role comes up, you can talk to that person again that you built rapport with, and you're a little bit ahead of your competitor if they have not spoken to the person.
Yeah,
Um,
I think a lot of young recruiters, myself included, get excited when you get a new role that comes up and it's maybe outside of your area of expertise, as you're mentioning. But I, I, I did jump a lot to those, and my manager got upset with me in my old
oh,
company.
good.
But I did feel like I hit a groove because I would do about 80% in my area, and then 20% was kind of experimentation. And as long as I maintained this kind of foundation, I knew I was going to be billing. And
Yeah.
then these would just kind of be extra kind of cream on top. And eventually, actually, from doing this, I did expand and I had multiple people under me that I was managing, and we entered into a new business area that we weren't covering before as a specialty. So I feel like as long as you have most of your business here and
Yeah.
you're maintaining that and building that, if your client does come up with something different, maybe just a little bit of time dedicated and you never know what can happen. But if you switch and all of a sudden you're 100% dedicated over here, you turn around and the next day you've got nothing in the pipeline. So it's
I
dangerous, but
agree. I agree with you 100%. Like doing the 80% and then 20% could be outside your area. I think that's totally okay because you are already using good practices and you knew how to do that. So that other 20%, that might be quite difficult for somebody else, but you're already using best practices in the way you prep people and what you do post interview,
mm,
et cetera, to get them across the line. So I think that's totally good. And same at our company, like we'll have people's protected areas, say 4 different consultants in their protected areas. And then there we'll get some roles that are not in anybody's area. So then anybody can work those and that's fine. But I say the same thing. Just be careful about what percentage of roles you're doing outside of your area and
mm,
make sure that most of them are in that area.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry. In the last 5 minutes, I guess, because you have to run soon, but
Yeah.
tell me something about, we can hear from your voice that you're very chill. You're from California as well. Um, take me to the beach a little bit. You have something going on in the Philippines, I guess, with
Oh
the
yeah.
company. And what is this all about? Is this your hobby, or how does this connect?
I wish more of my hobbies were over in Cebu. It's a beautiful place. We have had our offsite there where we flew everybody there for end of year, and I really like that. Maybe another part that's part of our culture is everybody has a voice here and a stakeholder. So for the offsite, we're not just going on a drinking vacation. It's we fly over there and we get people together to share best practices, and then exactly from your experience here, what can we do to be more efficient? And then they're putting that stuff into play. And then I don't have any hobbies in Cebu. I just go over there for work, but we have an office there. I think we've been able to get really good talent there, and I want to continue to grow that office. We do something really unique where we have that office and this office connect. Each office has a big screen, wide screen in the room, and there's a mic attached, so I can talk to those people exactly like they're in this office. I can just reach out and touch the mic and say, "Oh, hey, don't forget
Hmm.
you got that call at 4:30, and remember that, guys." Whatever. So then the
It's like
reason for that is
intercom.
I want people to be able to not feel separate and feel
Wow.
like one team. So
So it's like
yeah,
an international intercom kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
That's
it
interesting.
is. Um,
So what are your hobbies though? Do you have anything recently that you've been working on, or that you've been just being with family, or
uh, I'm pretty dedicated to my work, so I don't have a lot, but um, I spend as much of my time as when I'm not at work, I spend as much time as possible with my kids. And then I surf just a little bit, but I enjoy it immensely. I think it's a really good hobby in a million different ways. Um, in fact, we could draw uh, similarities between surfing and recruitment. You can do it with a lot of things, actually.
we absolutely
But
should.
yeah,
Yeah,
that would be a good podcast, I think.
that's the
You're going
next
to
episode.
absolutely flail at the beginning if you don't have somebody helping you. And there's
Hmm.
a lot to learn about the market. There's a lot to learn about the ocean before you enter it. Um,
Hmm. It's
gosh,
all
so
about the
there's just
vision too, like
yeah,
being able to see which wave is gonna break well and
yeah,
which one is just gonna crash on top.
yeah. And if
And
you
if it
don't
does
have
crash on,
if you
go
don't have
ahead.
experience, you could even see it, but you have no idea if it's going to be big or smaller, what a set looks like, or how
Hmm.
many might be in a set. But
Hmm.
with experience, you'll have that. So if you don't have somebody that you're going with to show you that stuff,
Hmm.
it's going to be really hard. And then same with recruitment. I guess you can say it for a lot of us. Just be coachable and try to absorb best practices and then use is going to be way different than.
Yeah, and I think the best thing that I've ever learned in surfing is to stay calm, because the most dangerous part of surfing is when you get hit by that wave and you get dragged underwater for a couple, it might even just be a couple of seconds, but it might feel like it's a couple of minutes. And if you're panicking, like you said, flailing around, and you're gonna just lose all of your energy, you're gonna lose all of your breath very quickly as well. So just being able to take a moment and know that it's chaos all around you. Maybe it relates in that there's candidates calling, there's clients calling,
Yeah.
there's all these things happening. But if you just stay calm and you know that that will pass through, then you won't hurt yourself and you'll make it out.
Yeah, I think that's a super good comparison, especially like maybe we could call it the rage of the water. You're kind of tumbling in that. So there's a lot going on. If you can stay calm, you're going to also use way less energy, and then you'll be fine. Anyway, you'll be in way better shape than if you're
Mm-hmm.
panicking. Same
Because that next
for
wave's
like,
gonna come.
yeah. And I think that, yeah, that's right, because the water's not going to stand still and neither is the market.
Yeah.
But I think that, a high stress situation is made, especially for younger recruiter, is when the client is upset. And it might
Mm.
be that you didn't do anything wrong. That happens all the time. So it needs to be explained. But you should say sorry if you did something wrong, but you don't. So people will panic and be like, I'm really sorry. It won't happen again. And now the client doesn't trust you anymore. And they think you did whatever you did. So it's just staying calm and saying, and then also, not getting, you don't want to get upset with your client. So just stay calm. Even if they were out of line, you can always be the professional one. And then just, you can just say like, okay, I'll check into that for you. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I'm going to check in. I'm going to stop what I'm doing right now and check into that for you. And then I'm going to get back to you before the end of the day. And then, it's most often, I think, not something you did. And then you can show them that it didn't happen, um, and then try to fix that. That's way easier to do than if you panic and apologize, or if you panic and get upset at your client, then that relationship is probably kind of done.
Yeah, and imagine, and also holding that with you for the rest of the day, or maybe
Yes.
even multiple days, and feeling like this wave is still crashing on top of you, and meanwhile there's the next one that's coming, and you have to be in position to catch it, or else
Yeah.
the next thing is going to happen. It's going to affect your interactions with your candidates or even your kids at home potentially. Or so,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
it's
That's a
it's
really good analogy for the commotion, and then you have the next wave coming, and then same thing in business. You might be professional on your next call, but your tone's going to be at least a tiny bit different if you just got super stressed out and you have that call, or you just had an amazing call and you do that call. So that
mm,
staying calm thing is really important. I think people, it's kind of a high stress job. Um, it certainly can be anyway. So just understanding that other person, when they're upset or whatever it is, um, or not responding to you well, that's
mm,
just because they're too busy or they're going through whatever they're going through, and then for you to just remain professional. Of course, you can drop a client if they're no good for you. You could also drop a candidate if they're no good for you, but try to just be always at that calm level of giving them the support that you give, and then you can just move on. I don't think it has to take more time than somebody complaining afterwards of a bad candidate. Just give them the whatever support they need, whatever they need to hear to help them, and then move on to the next.
yeah. I thank you so much for this. We could talk about surfing and how it relates all day. Maybe that will be the next podcast. But I know
Yeah.
that you have to run, so I'll let you go. Anything else that you wanted to say before we log off?
Um, I wanted to just say, I want to try to do a quick, if it's okay, I'd like to say a quick one on just that. We
Mm,
talked about new people or recruiters out there and what makes the company different. And just to explain, like maybe the differentiation of this specific company so people know it. Is that okay?
please, yeah. I have time.
Okay. So maybe some of the most important things about someone who's interested in this organization would be there's the one-to-one associate consultant ratio. So you should be able to bill more and focus on the areas you want to. It's supposed to be built for a recruiter's dream come true. And it's really an individual contributor's dream come true. I think the brand is also pretty important. Ours started with the top MBA programs and Fortune 500 CEOs or partners of the Big Four speaking, and have kept it just to that. So we built on that, working with integrity to being clients good candidates. And I think that that people still know that about the brand, partners still know that, and you can state it to them, and then there's a higher level of trust. Plus, with the Big Four, we can say we've worked there for over a decade, and they're pretty quick to sign with you, as well as other smaller consulting companies. Better than standard industry commission, but that's not going to help you if the company doesn't have best practices. It's more important for the company to have strong best practices, and that means we're giving you tools to achieve your goals. So we do have really good, strong best practices here that we're following up on and implementing with consistency. That makes a huge difference because lots of companies have them and they're just not implementing them with consistency. So we help people to do that. Protected space, so people can do linear recruitment. So if you're in finance and you have that, maybe accounting, tax, audit is just yours and yours alone to work, and you have that protected space so you can become an expert, and so other people aren't grabbing your roles or your candidates. Yeah, and then also just you can develop your niche area, get rich in your niche, as you said. Yeah, and I think the last one is just you can really be a part of something here. We say that we're all stakeholders here because people get to contribute, whether that's in the parking lot of our weekly, with anything they want. It's very open question culture. And then we have the offsite at the end of the year where we're talking about the actual processes, how everybody gets to speak up about what they think we can change to be more efficient, stronger, better, and then we implement those the following year. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Recruiter's dream.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Levi. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Much appreciated, Damon. We'll keep in touch. Good luck at your meeting. And
thank you.
All the best.
All right. Thanks a lot, Levi. Aloha.
Aloha. Nice.